Hi everyone, welcome back to the Crafty Author. My name is Anissa, I am the Crafty Author, and welcome to my craft room. And today we are going to be putting on borders using the Quilt As You Go method. So I am still working on our sawtooth star quilt, and now I am ready to put those borders that I have made around the quilt. So I'm going to show you what I have so far. So I chose to do a border like this around my sawtooth star quilt. And basically what I did was I just took some squares that I have that were left over from our project, and I just made long strips to go on the sides and on the top and the bottom. And these are cut at 5.5 by 3. So this rectangle, the longer part is 5.5 and the shorter part is 3 inches here. So if you want to do something like that, you are more than welcome to do that. I am going to start, I need to quilt this. So what I will do is I will cut a larger piece of backing fabric, and then I will also do a like a stitch down to hold it all together. So I'll do the backing, the batting, and then I'll do a just like probably a, I don't know, maybe like a squiggly stitch all the way down is probably what I'm thinking I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try and keep this real simple, to be honest. I don't wanna get real crazy with it. So that is what we're going to do. I'm gonna show you how I do this. Okay. So this is how I do this with a very thin border. I'm just going to show you how I figure this out. So I have a really long piece of batting here, and I am just going to take my scissors now. I've got my longest piece laid out, and this batting is folded in half. So now I'm just going to cut it, and I know that this is going to be long enough for my shorter piece too, because my shortest piece, because this piece is shorter. So, and like I said, I doubled it up. So this is going to take care of all 4 of the sections on my thing for my border. So, okay, so I'm done with that piece. So now I'm left with this very large piece of batting. So now what I'm going to do is just come over here, and I'm going to find a shorter piece, and I'm just going to space it out on here, and you can kind of see what I'm doing here, except for that's my long piece. That won't work. All right, here's the shorter piece. So I'm just gonna, I want to leave a little bit of space in between these two so that I have enough room for quilting. Okay, so you can see that this one stops right about here where my hand is. So now I'm just going to cut straight up this whole piece of batting with a pair of sharp scissors, and I'm just going to keep cutting, cutting, and cutting. Now the batting doesn't have to be exact, because remember, you're going to trim at the end. So, but you do want to make sure it is long enough so that you don't have any pieces that are too short. You want to be able to get it quilted correctly. Okay, so that's done. I'm just going to pull this extra piece. Now I'll use this piece again, this piece of batting, for a larger border or another project, whichever comes first. And now I'm going to cut these down the middle here. So now I'm going to show you how I do this. So I've cut those pieces like I told you and showed you. And move that out the way. I'm at the edge of my table because I'm using the 505 spray to put this down, and I don't want it everywhere. So that is why it's over here. Make sure that's long enough. It's okay, good. All right, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of spray. I have my backing fabric with the right side facing down and the wrong side facing up at me. I'm just laying my batting down on here right now, real smooth. And I didn't cut these straight. It doesn't matter. If you're really looking not to waste any fabric, then you'll want to be exact in your measurements. Personally, right now I don't care. I'll just use it for another scrap. I'll use the leftover fabric in a scrap project. So I know some people are very anal about that. I'm not, so I'm not worried about it. And it's going to be okay because all of our projects will turn out just fine no matter what you do. All right, so I got a crease there. I'm going to pull that up and just put that down. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to take my strip that I had made, and how I found the measurement was I sewed these together and then I lined them up on my quilt, and I did that to ensure that they would that it fits, and it does. So just measure it that way, or you can measure it with your ruler. I just like to eyeball things a lot of times. It's just easier for me to do that rather than to spend the time measuring. So, for this type of border. Other borders, yes, I will measure, but this one in particular, this is a scrappy border, so, you know, not too worried about it. I just spray a little bit of the 505 in here. Spray the top so it doesn't move. And that one's good to go now too. So now I have 2 of these borders ready to go. They just need to be quilted. So I'm gonna finish doing the smaller borders the same exact way that I did these. And we'll quilt them, and then we'll come back and we'll square them up and we'll get them put onto the quilt using the Quilt As You Go method. All right, so now we're gonna quilt the last part of our border. So as you can see, I've got my backing on, got my front, and I've got my batting in the middle, and I've pulled up my threads, but I'm gonna redo it again because I lost them. Just keeps it from nesting on the back. You really wouldn't need to do this if you've got this many layers, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And I'm just going to put it down, and I'm going to start doing like a wiggly line just down. Just keeping my fabric flat as I go. You could do any kind of a design that you would like on yours. Just going with a squiggly line because I like the way it looks, and it's fast, and it looks kind of cool. Again, this is the beauty of the 505. So if it starts to pucker a little bit, you can always just pick it up and flatten it out. But the 505 really helps it to stay in place. I actually prefer it over pins. So, and now we're done with that. And you have something that looks like this with the squiggly line. Okay? All right, so I've trimmed. Here's my first one, okay? Now, all I did with this is I didn't do anything special. I didn't measure it out. I didn't do anything with it. All I did was just line up along the edge and cut. Any excess that was there, I just cut it off and just kind of eyeballed it to make sure that it was as even as possible. And it looks great to me, and it is. And like I said, this is kind of scrappy border, so I'm not overly concerned with it. But I will show you what I did. And if you want to take the time to measure yours out and whatnot, I say go for it. But I didn't do that for this. And it turned out fine. So I'm going to show you how I did this. Not everything has to be perfect in quilting. I'm just saying. So if you like wonky things, which I do, then that's okay. And that's kind of what I'm going after. This border itself is kind of wonky. So I'm lining up on my line here along the edges of my border here. And I can see that I'm lined up right here perfectly. But here, there's a little bit of fabric that needs to be cut off, and it's lined up perfectly here. So I'm just gonna cut that excess off. I'm not measuring, I'm not doing anything, I'm just cutting it. Just lining up and cleaning the edge off, okay? I'm gonna do that again. This time I'm gonna line up straight on the one that I've already cut, and I'm gonna come over here a little bit down at the bottom because I was a little bit off right here, so now I'm gonna just cut. And you can see there's just very little coming off of that. It really truly is just a cleanup. So that's what I'm doing here. Like I said, if you want to measure it out, you're more than welcome to. But this is how I'm going to do it. So just showing you a little different way of handling this. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and give this part a trim because this is not looking too straight. And also this one. Just trim it. I knew that was going to happen. And voila. We're good to go. Okay. So I'm going to finish trimming the rest of these up, and then we will assemble the borders. All right, we're ready to start putting our border on our quilt. We are going to start with one of the longer sides first. Actually, it's going to be the same way, the way we do this, it's going to be the same way for all borders. It doesn't matter if you're just doing one border, if you're doing 2 borders, 3 borders, you're going to do it exactly the same way. So decide where you want to start first. Do you want to start at the top? Do you want to start at the bottom? Do you want to start at the sides? That's really up to you. I am going to start on the side, on the longer side. You're going to need clips for this. I recommend these little clips. These little tiny quilt clips. You can get those in my Amazon store. They're in the link down below in the description box. Since I am an Amazon affiliate, I will make a small commission if you purchase through my link, and I always do appreciate that. So anyway, here's what we need. You got to have your 1-inch strip for your front, and you're going to need your 2-inch strip ironed in half for the back. And you can see I've gone ahead and ironed that. That's 2 inches cut, ironed in half. All I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take my 1-inch piece, if I can find it. There it is. I was hoping it didn't fall on the floor. All right, and all I am going to do right now is I'm just gonna clip it to the front side here. I'm going to leave just a tiny little bit hanging over, probably about 1/8 of an inch over, and I'm just going to clip the front onto my quilt on that side. Should be the wrong side facing down, and you're going to go along the edge here. So you'll be able to see it as I'm going along here. It's a little bit better of an angle so you can see how I'm putting this on here, and I'm just clipping it like so. Goes on there pretty quick. This part of the Quilt As You Go goes rather quickly, I think. So, but you want to make sure that you have a long enough strip. Yeah, and that's why we do this first. It does help to ensure you can measure and measure and measure, and sometimes you'll come up short. So I always like to do a little test run, and it looks like we're going to have plenty here. So, but this is how you attach a border. And this is a large quilt, so this is, you know, a little bit more tricky than if you're just working with a smaller piece of fabric here. So, but it's attaching the border is exactly the same as doing the rows. And my quilt wants to fall on the floor, of course, because why not, right? Because that's what they like to do when they get heavy. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me push this back a little bit. There you go. Now if the quilt's getting heavy, I'm having to readjust it so that it's not falling off of the table, which just frustrates me all to heck. I'm just going to tell you that right now. That part drives me nuts, but nothing you can do about it. Just got to finagle it and keep lifting it up and hope it doesn't fall down again. Okay, make it behave. All right, so now we're done clipping the front part. So yeah, I should have something like this. Okay, now we're ready to take our back side, which is the side that's 2 inches, folded in half, ironed in half. And all I'm going to do is just flip the quilt like so. And we're gonna put this on here, just like we did the other clips, except for now I'm just going to use the clips that I already put on there. Now I'm going to use those to clip this back side on. So you should have your raw edge going to your raw edge on the back. This is just like how we joined our rows and also our blocks. It's the same concept. Everything is the same. The only difference is that it gets a little bit bigger. Borders are a little more wonky to work with as far as quilting goes. But it's exactly, you're just assembling the quilt exactly the same way. Nothing with that changes. So I've attached the strips, the sashing. The 1-inch sashing goes on the front. The 2-inch sashing goes on the back. We're not doing anything with the back of it right now. We're going to grab one of our borders. You can do the color scheme however you want. I'm going to start the dark blue up at the top. All right, so I'm going to attach this, the wrong side now, down. And I'm just going to attach to that front strip that we just sewed on our 1-inch strip there. And I like to flip this around a little bit because it's easier for me to see what I'm doing from the back side than it is from that front side. Oh, baby. So I'm just going to take this and Match it up, raw edge to raw edge. Just make sure I'm doing this right. Yep. Make sure we're going in the right direction here, and we are. So I'm just gonna clip it, just like we did the others here. So I'll just clip. Once you get it started, it kind of falls into place on its own, and it just kind of just goes together. But I take it over to the sewing machine. I'm gonna use my walking foot. I'm gonna sew 1/4 inch down in this little ditch area here where we've pinned, and then we'll come back and do the next step. All right, everything is stitched together. As you can see, this is how we attached it on the back. And now we have this other flap that's open, but here is our border. That's how you attach a border. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to flip this, and we're going to seal up this open edge that we have from where we put it together. So it's our 2-inch piece on the back now that we're gonna just pull it tight, and then we're gonna sew it down. Now I think I showed this last time, but I'm gonna show you how I do it again. Sorry about that, that's my iron. Had some water leaking out. I'm gonna give this a good press real quick, just to press this down. Okay. So I've gone ahead and I've just given it a good little press down here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this Scotch tacky glue. Looks like that. All right, I got it to work finally. It's a little bit stuck in there. So I just put a little bit of glue, and then I hit it with some steam. Don't burn yourself like I just burned myself, though. Be very, very careful. Just put a little bead of glue right here. Okay. Again, you're gonna want to just put it down, put your iron on. I've got too much going here. But it'll be fine. You just want to hold this down so that when you take it to your machine and sew it down, it's going to stay. It really does help. So, and it won't mar up your needle. I think that's what I like the best about it. So that you don't have to worry about that. I'm really trying not to put that much on here, but since I cleaned it out and got it to go, it's pretty runny, pretty thick. You can also use Elmer's school glue. Have it all the way down now. And my iron is leaking. Filled it too full. Okay. So now I'm ready to take it over to the machine, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this cool for just a minute. And then I will just stay consistent with what we did before with the squiggly lines. I like to do 3 squiggly lines on here. One on the edge, one on the inner edge, and then one straight down the middle. So when it's finished, I will show you what this looks like. Okay, so we are done adding the border to the side. I will finish the other 3 sides off camera, but it's the same exact technique. So, you know, you're gonna wanna even up your long sides. If you have a little bit of extra border on that, you're gonna wanna cut that off at the top, make it nice and even, and then put on your border on the top and the bottom, okay? It's really, it turned out cute, really cute. It's actually really easy. The hardest part of this is just working with the bulk, really. But I'm gonna show you what the border looks like. So as you can see, this is the border that I put on. And I used, you can see the strip here, right there. And you can see that my decorative stitching went onto my border. Now remember, that doesn't bother me. I like that. If you're really particular about this, you might want to hand stitch, okay? I have some loose threads that I need to cut. This is what it looks like on the back side. Right there, you can see my 3 squiggly lines coincides with my other squiggly lines. So it looks really cool. I love it. I think it looks really neat. I can't wait to see what it looks like when I get the other border on top here. It's gonna look cool. So yeah, so that's it. That's what we've got so far. So like I said, I will go off camera and I will finish putting on the other 3 borders. So if you're interested in learning how to bind the quilt, that'll be the next tutorial. I have other tutorials on how to bind a quilt. There's different methods and different ways to do it. So just join me. It'll be fun, I promise. So that's it for me today. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, the links are down below in the description box. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment if you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to share it, you're more than welcome to share it, because sharing is caring. And don't forget to click that little bell. You'll get notified each and every time that I upload a new video, and you don't want to miss it because we have some cool projects coming up. And keep on crafting, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.